Hello friend, I recently got my friends Caleb and Austin together to test a whole bunch of common ways to add diffusion to your key light. While I've seen lots of videos comparing different light fixtures, I felt like something in this lane was missing from YouTube. I really wanted to see the differences in a controlled environment of how different diffusion techniques affect both the wrap of soft light on a subject's face as well as the spill onto the background. So what is the difference between a simple softbox that a lot of content creators use and more professional lighting techniques like large 8x8s and book lights? I mainly did this test for myself as I wanted to see side-by-side comparisons between a bunch of common options that I use, but felt like you guys might find the results helpful as well. Please note that while this wasn't the precisest and most scientific test, we did our best to keep all the other variables consistent and try to match our exposure on the bright side of the skin using false color on our camera monitors. In addition to testing different diffusion techniques, we also decided to swap back and forth a bounce option as well as an option with negative fill, as we thought that you guys might want to see both. I imagine this video is going to be quite long, so feel free to skip around to different sections below using the chapter markers to see the different results. As far as context for the location and our setup, we filmed this against a white cyc wall so you guys could see the amount of spill hitting the background. We had Austin sitting in a chair pulled away from the back corner. In addition to whatever we were using as our key light, we lit Austin with a hair light using one of the Nanlite Pavotube 215Cs set to 5600 Kelvin, and it was at 33%. We had this boomed out above him just out of the frame. For visual interest, we also added a simple streak of light to the background with an Aputure 60X with the Spotlight Mini Zoom attachment, and this was also set to 5600 Kelvin. On the shadow side of our subject's face, we had a 4x4 floppy that was in the studio, and we alternated this between the white bounce side and the black negative fill side for each shot. As far as cameras, we filmed this on the Fujifilm X-H2S as well as the X-T3 using my usual Sigma Art 18-35 and 24-70 combo. Our camera settings did not change at all throughout the test. We had our key lights as close as we could get them without being in the shot, and simply increased or decreased the intensity of the lights as needed to match them using false color on our monitors. First up, we had a 38-inch deep parabolic softbox. We had it as close to Austin as we could get it without it being in the frame. This was approximately 38 inches away, and the Nanlite FS300 was set to 4%. This is a pretty standard option without very much spill, and here it is with the bounce, and then here it is with the neg. This is probably the most common diffusion technique you see on YouTube. This is really common with content creators as softboxes are relatively inexpensive and set up quite quickly. For our second setup, we kept the setup the same, but we did add a small diffusion sheet from a small 5-in-1 reflector to double diffuse the light. We had it as close to Austin as we could get it without it being in the frame, and we did have to increase the intensity of our light to 22%. As you can see, it is softer, but it does introduce some spill into the background. So here it is with the bounce, and then here it is with the neg. For our third setup, we had the Falcon Eyes RX18TD with the small diffusion box on the front. Lights with this style of diffusion attached are becoming more and more popular. I thought this would be a good test of a light that takes up less space than a softbox for spaces that are smaller. We had it set only to 1%, and so here it is with the bounce, and then here it is with the neg. This is pretty similar to the softbox, but wanted to see if there was a noticeable difference. Fourth, we added the small diffusion sheet from a 5-in-1 reflector to double diffuse the RX18TD. We did increase the intensity to 23%, and so here it is with the bounce, and then here it is with the neg. Again, this is pretty similar to the softbox, but I just wanted to see if there was a noticeable difference, as I have definitely lit interviews with this light before. For our fifth setup, we decided to set up a small compact book light using a small 5-in-1 reflector as a bounce, and then a larger 5-in-1 reflector as diffusion. For this setup, we were using the Nanlite FS60B as it is a smaller fixture, and we had it set to 88%. You are currently seeing it with the bounce, but here it is with the neg. I really like this one with the neg as the shadow side was very soft and the roll off across the face looked really nice. This was really my first time setting up a booklight and really liked the result. For setup number 6, we had a large 8x8 sheet of bleached muslin, and we were using the Nanlite FS300 at 7%. You are seeing it with the bounce, and then here it is with the neg. This setup definitely takes up a lot more space and is probably more of a professional option. People have seen me use the 8x8 to light an interview, and I thought this would be great to include so it can really show the difference between just a simple softbox and what you get out of a large 8x8 sheet. For our 7th setup, we had a large book light using a large 5-in-1 reflector as the bounce, and then we were going into the 8x8 bleached muslin. We increased our output of the FS300 to 16%, which was interesting as we weren't actually losing that much output compared to when just the FS300 was going through the 8x8. And so you are seeing it with the bounce, and then here it is with the neg. This setup definitely took up the most space, but I felt like it looked really, really good. For our 8th setup, we just set up a simple shower curtain. I've seen a lot of budget filmmaking videos mention using a shower curtain as they are very cheap, and I was curious how it compared. We had the FS300 set to 4%, and you are seeing it with the bounce. And then here it is with the neg. For our 9th and final setup, we kept the shower curtain where it was, but added a softbox to the FS300 to act as double diffusion. I thought this simulated a budget double diffusion option and was curious how it compared to the others. We had the FS300 set to 24%, and you are seeing it with the bounce. And then here it is with the neg. What do you guys think about these results? Before I share my thoughts, I just want to quickly play through all of the different options, letting you guys see them a little bit more quickly side by side. So when it comes to analyzing these results, there are so many things that I could say to pick apart each technique. The short answer is that I can't say that there is a best all-around option, but rather different ways to get different results. It was really interesting to look at these results and see just how these different techniques affect spill on the background, as well as how much the bounce or negative fill really does play into the final image characteristics. Most likely you're not going to be filming in a studio like this, so you will need to know the tone of your piece and decide if you need to brighten up the background or keep some of the spill off of it. If your piece is dramatic and moody, add negative fill all the way. But if you're needing a light or more airy image, I feel like the bounce is definitely your friend and really helps to make the image less contrasty. I think if I want the softest light possible and I'm not too concerned with the spill, I think the book lights are going to get me there. However, they are the most complicated to set up and require an extra stand or two, so I wouldn't really recommend these to someone who's a one-man band that doesn't have enough time to really get this look dialed in. I sent some frames of the results to Caleb and Austin, but did not tell them which was which. Caleb's top 3 were the large book light with the bounce, just the softbox with the bounce, as well as the small booklight with the bounce. I thought that was really interesting, just, blindly looking at images, which ones he favored. He shoots a lot of stuff for a church that needs to be bright, but still keep shape on the face. And I felt like those results totally matched the look that he's going for. I'm definitely looking forward to trying out the small booklight on more shoots. I really loved the look of it, and it still had somewhat of a minimal footprint compared to some of the bigger setups. I also really liked just the big 8x8, as it's a really soft source and it's also pretty simple to set up. If you commonly light interviews with just a softbox, I would encourage you to pick up some sort of additional diffusion, as I feel like it makes a meaningful impact on the final image. I think I would really only go for the large booklight setup if I'm needing to light multiple subjects at once from the same source, as the setup is the largest and the most time consuming to set up. I feel like the final image actually looked quite similar to the smaller booklight or just using the 8x8 by itself. Making this video was a whole lot of fun for me. Thanks again for watching and supporting me here on this channel. I would really love to hear your thoughts down below. What did you think about this test? Did anything surprise you? Do you use any of these techniques on a regular basis? What other tests would you like to see like this? I always love hearing what you guys think, and always appreciate continuing the conversation down in the comments. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, peace.